Attention, s'il vous plaît. How's that? Attention, everybody. Buongiorno. Buenos días, damas y caballeros. Bienvenidos aquí a la conferencia. Yeah, oprima for one, press, for English, press one. Para español, oprima dos. All right. We're running late. We had a technical glitch. We got some feedback here, too. A couple of announcements. I always forget to do what people say is the important thing. I've opened up, we charge $6 a month on our Steel on Steel site, steelonsteel.com, to listen to our intense weekly news program, just like the speech. But I've opened up a free login and password for a month or so for anybody here. If you go to steelonsteel.com and just use the word K-House, all lowercase, for your login and password. And if you want to get a card from me, please do that. steelonsteel.com. And probably next week's show is going to be clips from the conference here. But we just did this weekend, I think we have Secretary of Defense William Cohen. No, I can't remember. What did we do this week? People say, what did you do on your show last week? And I don't remember because I'm focused on the next four, But the website is steelonsteel.com and just K-House for the login and password. Other announcement, and if you don't remember that, just hit me up for a business card. I talked earlier, we're going to make everything connect today. All of life is interconnected, right? The alternative media has been the darling of my heart, because when I first started into talk radio, I'd been in broadcasting for 40 years, but didn't get into talk until 1990, and the internet wasn't really functioning, if you recall. And so we had to do a lot of work. If I wanted to find out what was going on in Washington, I had to call somebody in London, have them fax me Ambrose Evans Pritchard's column from the London. You remember that, Joe, don't you? Ambrose Evans Pritchard column from the London Telegraph, see? I spent $1,000 a month. Sprint loved me, okay, because of what I was spending, and in order to get a 2-hour-a-day radio show out of this whole thing. And Mike Reagan and I and all the others, we were all calling, and it became a profound embarrassment to the Washington Post, because they kept trying to spike all this stuff, and all of us yahoos would be on the air in the afternoons talking about it, reading from the London Telegraph, What changed all of that, and what is different in America, is my glasses, is the fact that what we have in this country is a vibrant competing press, alternative press, which doesn't really exist in Canada. They're trying to get a new radio station going in Great Britain on the internet called Britannia Radio, and Harold Hoffman is doing that. But that is what has kept so much of this alive. And one of the first newspapers, of course, to hit the waves was Joe Farah's WorldNet Daily, which made my life easier because we had more eyes looking at more things. And another one of the sites that came up very early on was watch.org, which I have not met Bill Koenig until just a couple of weeks ago when he did speak at Candlelight Fellowship. We've pinged emails back and forth over the years. It seems like so much of this happens that way. The financial show I do every week, we've done it 5 years. I've never met my co-host in person. We've done it, and we sound like we're sitting in the studio together. But I think you'll find this address interesting. I heard it 2 weeks ago. Bill Koenig is the president of Koenig's International News. He bases out of the White House. He's a White House correspondent, so he's right in the center of where things happen. You can see what speaking does to you after a while. The Daily News Service has readers in 50 states and 79 countries. And he co-authored Israel, the Blessing or the Curse in 2001, graduated from Arizona State University with a BS in Communications. He has an MA in Communications from Louisiana Baptist University, and of course he does live in Washington, D.C., and he is also author of Eye to Eye, and you will find this next hour absolutely fascinating. Bill Koenig.
Thanks, John. Thank you very much, John. Sorry about that little glitch. You have to get used to those things in our line of work, but glad we got it worked out. We are literally living in the most exciting times in biblical history, world history. Listening to what Joseph had to say last night and John this morning, and what Tommy will say this afternoon, and Avi Lipkin and Chuck. We're literally been given the opportunity to be sitting up close and personal to the most incredible prophetic fulfillment in history. You know, it's awesome to watch the Lord do things in our lives and our friends' lives, but to watch the scriptures that were written 2,500 to 2,800 years ago play out as written is truly remarkable. My pastor in Dallas used to always say, if you want to know where things are going prophetically, watch what's happening with the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem right now is the focus of the world, and the nation of Israel is the focus in the world. And many people believe that Israel is the key to world peace. Eye to Eye is my book. It was written in 2004, revised in 2005. It's very up to date right now, and it focuses on the consequences to President Bush and previous leaders, Middle East leaders, U.S. leaders, and Israeli leaders that have attempted to divide the land that God gave Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Inside the White House is a key place today, and I've been blessed to be at that place at this time. But what's really amazing to me is a former neighbor of mine in Dallas, George W. Bush, who used to live about 2 miles from me, has been given one of the most incredible, significant roles of any leader we've had in our country or any world leader. And I go into detail a little bit on what has affected him theologically that's affected his role in the process of the peace process in Israel with the Palestinians. But the key here, as in the day, I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. Jerusalem, the burdensome stone. Also, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you, for he that touches you touches the apple of his, or God's eye. The pupil of our eye, the apple of our eye, is the most sensitive part of the body. When you touch the Jewish people or the nation of Israel, you are touching an area that is very, very sensitive to the God of Israel. So consequently, there are consequences. Genesis 15:18 is also a key scripture for these times. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. This is the Abrahamic land covenant. Also, very important scripture too, and this puts things in perspective. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Hagar, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. And he shall be a wild man, Ishmael's offspring and relatives in family throughout history. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Ishmael's descendants today have an obsession with the Jewish people. Ishmael's descendants, if they weren't fighting amongst themselves, they will fight with the Jews. The unifying factor in many ways is the Jewish people living on God's covenant land. But you see Israel is a unifying factor, but at the same time you see the problems between the Shiite and Sunnis in Iraq, in Lebanon, and the strengthening of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and also what's happening in Iran. This is their nature. This will be their nature till Jesus Christ comes back to the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. This is God's covenant land. The Euphrates River on the right, the Mediterranean on the left, and then some part of the Wabi River. This takes part of Iraq and Lebanon and Jordan and Israel and Egypt. This is a land that is God's. This is God's everlasting commitment to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Today, Israel is only on 25% of this property. But then again, that's still not enough. And as Joseph spoke of the analogy of New Jersey last night, they want to take even more of New Jersey away. They want to take even more of the biblical heartland of Israel. It's been used, you hear the term West Bank, but this is Judea and Samaria. This is the Golan Heights, which is key to Israel's existence. And also the city of Jerusalem. the city of the King of Kings, and a city that the Jewish people have had a history with for over